Hi, this is a project I created for my 8-year-old. Uh, I thought it would be a fun teaching device, although sometimes it was less fun when he struggled with it. It started one day we were playing Minecraft, and he laid down 3 blocks like this, and 3 torches on top, and 3 um, switches, and he started flipping them. I recognized it as binary, and I tried to show him how you could count 1, 2, 3 in binary. Um, but I think most of it was over his head. So sometime later I saw a few JPEGs, and maybe it was a video, of a huge scientific calculator that someone had built, and I thought my son could build something like this to learn about gates and binary. So I started him with this ginormous diamond rectangle, and behind it I built these sticky pistons and the redstone torches, and I built this um, kind of architecture, 1 layer thick of mossy cobblestone, so that you could activate the torches and make a part of the segment appear. So from there, I gave him these small tasks to work toward the goal of creating this huge monstrosity, which is a binary to decimal converter. So the first task I gave him was back here. He had to wire each of the segments together so that we just had 7 inputs, 1 for each um, of the segments. Uh, and he was able to do that, and it worked, but it was kind of a jumble mess. So then I created a single switch, and I asked him to wire the segments together so that he could flip it down and have a 0, like we have displayed now, and flip it up and have a 1. And he was actually able to do that pretty easily. Um, but like I said, it was a huge jumbled mess. So I bulldozed all his wiring, and I redid it more efficiently. That's something that I did several times during the project. It became clear that it was important to keep things organized and small. So after that, I pulled out all the inputs myself and put them easier to reach. You can see there's 1, there's 2, there's a couple underground here, then there's 3 and 4. And then I put these switches back here. Each of these signs is a number. So the numbers start from 0 down there on the end, and they count all the way up and up to 9. Okay, so now we learned about, over here, we had a little sandbox area, and we learned about simple 2-input OR gates. And I made 1 for each segment, and then he rewired 0 and 1 up to the new switches. So then he could flip those switches and we could see 0 and 1. Then we expanded the OR gates, because our OR gates were only 2 inputs, and we made them much wider. So this is a 7-input OR gate. Here's another 7-input OR gate. And after the OR gates were larger, he was able to wire again, and he wired 2, and I bulldozed all that and made it much smaller and efficient. And then eventually we had slowly wired 0 through 9, although I think I did 8 or 6 because it was getting crowded. And he was frustrated sometimes, and we came back to it several times over the course of a couple weeks. But he did complete it. So once we had all the switches working correctly, I built this platform up here with 4 switches on it, and each switch represents a bit. And I brought the signal down to this bus over here. As you can see, there's 4 wires on the bus. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I left a little room between the bus and his wired numbers here, so that he could wire from the bus to each number 0 through 9. So then we took a little time off, and I taught him about AND gates and NOT gates, and we built several examples again over in our little sandbox. And once he understood it, he passed a few small little tests and challenges. We came back to the project, and one at a time, he wired each number to the bus. The easier ones were 0 and 7, and the hardest ones were probably 3 and 7, 3 and 6. And then voila, we have a binary converter. So you can flip each switch here, and the latency is kind of humorous. So it's on 0 now, and we flip one switch up, and it'll change to 1 eventually. Flip this switch up, it'll change to 3. You can see all the wiring lighting up as it goes. There's 3. Pull this down and it'll demonstrate 2. There's 2. Let's put that up. What's that? That looks like 6. And there's 6. So he finished a couple months ago, and he still understands OR gates, and he still understands binary. But I'd be surprised if he could still build an AND gate, because that was the most complicated. I guess it'd probably be a good time to teach him, find a new project, and see if he can refresh his knowledge. Anyway, it was a neat little project for my